Welcome to A Taste of the County, featuring Essex County Wineries and Breweries. This is Episode 2, Lake Erie North Shore. I am Bruce Durward, owner of ecwb.ca, Essex County Wineries and Breweries. It's a one-stop website featuring Windsor Essex County Wineries and Breweries, travel information including events, restaurants, and accommodations. A Taste of the County podcast features Essex County Wineries and Breweries combining culinary creations alongside great wines and beers. Recipes for each pairing are included weekly on our website. We developed this love for wine and food pairing, having food and drink parties. Bringing local wineries and breweries on board was the next logical step. Going into our fifth year of food and drink pairing, we have featured over 250 recipes, promoting not only buying local, but taking it a step further and encouraging people to cook and pair wine and beer. Cooking from scratch is even healthier. Check out our site regularly, have fun, and try new things. A brief description of our wine growing region as described by the Vintners Quality Alliance, VQA, Lake Erie North Shore. The appellation overview is cool lake breezes, abundance of sunshine, ripe fruit with a good balance. Essex County is located at a latitude of approximately north 42 degrees, stretching along the bow-shaped shoreline of Lake Erie from Amherstburg to the east and St. Thomas, including the South Islands. Lake Erie North Shore appellation encompasses the vineyards and the southwestern extremity of Ontario. This favorable southerly location, combined with the warming effect of the shallow waters of Lake Erie, allows this appellation to enjoy a long growing season and promotes ripe fruit and perfect balance between natural sweetness and acidity. The topography of the area is bounded on the northwest side by Lake St. Clair. To the west, the fast-flowing Detroit River, with Lake Erie to the south, and including the South Islands. Lake Erie North Shore appellation is almost completely surrounded by water. Numerous shallow streams flow through the appellation, flow freely in the spring, but often dry down to a trickle in the warm summer. The appellation is made up of long, gentle slopes that face in all directions with an elevation ranging from 172 meters to 196 meters with an average of 185. With no major tropical barrier to prevent southerly winds, this appellation enjoys the full effect of the lake breeze that modernizes this entire area during the growing season. Some notable features. Planting in Lake Erie North Shore are well developed close to the Lake Erie shoreline, where the topographic and climate conditions are particularly favorable and support full and balanced ripening of the grapes. The soil composition in this appellation was greatly affected by the glacial lakes, which deposited large amounts of unsorted stony materials in the area. When the glacial lakes are retreating in other areas, this area remained covered in deep waters for a long time and allowed waves to smooth out the ridges and deposit considerable amounts of sediment. The light texture, well-drained soils along the lakeshore are mostly sandy loam and gravel deposits punctuated by small, irregular stony ridges, which overlay shale and limestone. The climate in Lake Erie North Shore has a long growing season and is the highest number of heat units of all of Ontario's viticultural areas. It benefits from the quick summer warming of the shallow waters of Lake Erie, as well as the abundance of sunshine during the growing season. Early harvests are the norm, with picking usually beginning at the end of August and late harvest often at their peak in late October. You know what wines you like, but how do you describe them? Learn how to use wine tasting terms the right way to get the wine you want. Learning the fundamentals of the tasting descriptions will also help you decipher wine writing and let you buy more wine confidently. Use wine tasting terms to get what you want. Besides referring to wine ratings, these tasting terms are the only way we can quantify what wine tastes like before we buy it. Learning what these words mean and how to use them yourself are a very powerful skill in order to get exactly what you want. We'll continue with the last two of the wine tasting terms. Last episode, we heard about the fruit level and the sweetness level. This episode, we'll talk about the body profile and the finish. Now that you've understood the two primary fruit categories in sweetness, you can focus on the body. Think of the body of the wine like the difference between skim and whole milk. Of course, many factors affect how we perceive the body, from alcohol level and tannin to acidity, so it's not an exact science. Some wine varieties fit into all three body styles depending on how they're made. Light-bodied. Light-bodied wine sits in your mouth more like a delicate, unsweetened iced green tea or refreshing lemonade. They may still have long aftertaste that tingles on your tongue, but they don't fill your mouth like whole milk does. Generally speaking, most light-bodied wines have lower alcohol levels, lower tannin, higher acidity, and of course there's always a few exceptions. Light-bodied wine terms would be like subtle, delicate, elegant, crisp, thin, and white wine terms would be light, zesty, crisp, austere, long, tingy finish. A medium-bodied wine. This term doesn't really need to be applied to white wines, red wines. On the other hand, the benefit from the third category of the resolution. A medium-bodied red wine are smack dab in the middle of the spectrum between a light red with lower tannins and a full-bodied red with high tannins. Medium-bodied red wines are usually called food wines. Medium-bodied red wine term would be like food-friendly, moderate, juicy, spicy, tart. Several classic medium-bodied red wines use little to no oak aging. A full-bodied wine fills your palate with their texture and intensity. Generally, full-bodied red wines have high tannin and usually have heightened alcohol levels above 14 ABV. The alcohol and tannin act more like textures on your palate, and that's why they're key components of a full-bodied red wine. Some full-bodied reds stand on their own and are better not to match with food at all. Conversely, a few reds are so bold with a bitter tannin that they almost need a rich fatty food like a steak to smooth out the tannin. Full-bodied red terms include rich, lush, opulent, concentrated, and hot. A full-bodied white term would be like rich, lush, or oily. Wines aged longer in new oak barrels tend to taste bolder. An example of a medium red wine pairing would be Meritage with the smoked baby back ribs. The smokiness in the ribs pairs well with tobacco with a hint of Meritage. How would you like an entire year of free drinks? Well, now is your chance to win up to $1,200 in LCB gift cards while supporting a great cause. The Windsor-Essex County Humane Society's popular Cheer for a New Year raffle is back, with 5 amazing prizes to be won. Tickets are just 3 for $10 and are available at the Humane Society and several local shops. Check out windsorhumane.org for a full list of participating retail locations. The draw is December 27th, so grab your tickets today for a perfect stocking stuffer and have yourself a New Year Eve to remember. The last term we're going to discuss will be the finish. It's common to pause after that first tasting of a red wine because of the after-effect taste or finish has on the flavor. The finish is also defined as the factor between mediocre and awesome tasting wine. So what are the common types of finishes in wines? There's a smooth, tart, sweet tannin, dried fruit, spicy, bitter. A smooth finish is the number one asked style on wine. However, smooth isn't detailed enough to get a description of what you might want. There is the smooth tart finish. This common style of finish is on higher acid wines. These wines begin with a tart fruit flavor and have subtle bitterness on the finish. For the most part, this style of finish is very common in wines from a cool climate, wine growing regions, or from cool vintages. In super premium light white wines, a tingling tart finish is considered a great quality and usually lasts for about 15 to 20 seconds. The sweet tannin finish, or the smoky sweet finish, is often associated on oak-aged red wines. A dried fruit finish style is found in aged red wines and red wines that are lighter in body and made with less oak aging. A spicy finish. This is a juicy, sharp, balsamic, peppery type of a finish on your wine. Wines are sometimes described as spicy, and the trait can be more intense in the finish of the wine. The sensation of a spicy finish on a wine is a sharp, burning sensation that could be compared to the feeling on your nose you get from eating wabasi or horseradish. Many of us think of this type of finish as an alcoholic burn, but that's not always the case. There are a variety of reasons why wines can have a spicy finish. Some from the grape, like Cabernet Sauvignon and Barbera, are known for their spicy qualities. To this type of acid that is present in wine. Some spicy finish wines are excellent. Sometimes this characteristic is a sign that the wine is a little out of balance. A bitter finish. Bitterness in red wines from tannins and bitterness in white wines is called phenolic bitterness. Bitterness is more like an astringent feeling that has a sensation of scraping the insides of your mouth. We know that the sensation in red wines is an interaction between proteins in our saliva and a type of tannin called condensed tannin that will build up on your palate over time. Bitterness on the finish is unpopular, but it's actually an amazing trait when you're pairing a wine to a rich and fatty food. Bitter red wine terms include chewy, bitter chocolate, oregano, grippy, harsh, coarse, or dense. Bitter wine terms include auster, citrus, quince, bitter almond, green mango, or chalky. Explore more wine words on our website at ecwb.ca. Tune into our next episode when more wine and food beer pairings terms with special guest interviews. If you want me to answer a question, please send it to podcast@ecwb.ca.